Hello everyone, welcome back to another video by Eclipse on my YouTube channel. And this is gonna be the 10th try to make this video. I just re-recorded it, it was long for 45 minutes. And before that it was around 1 hour, so I'm really gonna try to make it shorter. But there's a plenty of things I want to mention in this video, as this is the second part of creative workflow, and I believe this is the most important topic of all the things I did so far. When it comes to a technique, how can you make the bassline, how can you make the kick, how can you make this and this, these are all the small steps, and they might be hard in this moment, but later on you will see, when the time passes, if you still continue making music, you will see that the biggest and the most important things are actually something different. So why do we think that the kick and the bass are causing us the most problem? Is because we just end up in doing this game. And before I start with showing you a bit of the creative workflow, how do I structure the whole track, I just want to mention that the first thing you should never forget is the reason why did you start making the music at the first place. So I will just share my own reason and what kept me all those years to continue making and learning and going through all these hard moments. Was that when I was going on a parties, and when I realized how much of the good influence someone else's music had on me, how much good emotions it provided to me, I wanted to be that guy who's going to be able to do the same thing, somebody who's going to make his music and make the smiles on people's faces and see how people are enjoying it by listening something I did. And every time I got in a hard moments, I just remembered why did I start making my music, and it just kept me. It's a really nice moment of ambition and motivation for me. So it kept me all the time going through all of those things and kept me learning and passing all of them together. So, okay, I'm gonna share a little bit of the workflow. So I'm gonna try to, the last one was more theory. This one's gonna have a lot of theory as well, and because this topic is really problematic. But I want to share with you some of the maybe most important things when it comes to making music. And before I start dropping in the kick, I want to also to mention that before you start doing a track, if you know exactly what is that you want to create, what is the essence of it. So for example, the main idea behind this video, as I said, was I wanted to make a video about single shot sounds. But then I realized that it's not that easy, that it is a more of a creative workflow. But behind that creative workflow, also the idea. So with single shot sounds, basically, I really want to create an atmosphere. And the first thing is, which I'm going to show you right now, is dropping in the drum elements and adjusting them. And after that is the atmosphere. And how good I'm going to do that moment atmosphere with the single shot sounds, this is gonna be the crucial moment for making the track. Because okay, let's go inside the project right now. So let me just a second minimize this. And okay, the first thing in when I do file new is I want to drop in the kick, of course. So yeah, kicks, and I will do that from my kick pack. Eclipse kicks, kicks, okay, kick back. And I really like how this 21st one sounds. Made man. I will use this essay right now. Okay, so I'm just gonna drop in the kick. And the first thing I'm gonna do about the kick is I want to get rid of the silence after it, and I want to bounce it, and you will see a bit later why am I doing that. So yeah, kick on every fourth of the note, right, and it's gonna be for 8 bars for the beginning. and it's gonna go in yellow, and it's gonna go to the group of the kick and the bass, and it's gonna be called kick. So I have the kick, and now I need to set the BPM. Let's say 138. All right, beat. So that's the first thing I always do, is of course the kick. Second thing, I'm gonna load in the bass line, as every time I do the good bass line, I always export it in XML, and I have plenty of all of these pre-made bass lines, and I'm gonna use this one. Select the track. All right, so it's a synthesis with MIDI, with everything just kept in a, and I missed two of plugins that I still didn't install, but Quadrafuzz I'm not gonna use, and Oxford as well. So instead of Quadrafuzz, I'm gonna insert M Saturator MB from Melda, which is really nice replacement for this, for Quadrafuzz. All right, and I'm gonna bring the MIDI from here, and the rest I'm gonna delete. And instead of a G, instead of a D, I'm gonna set it to, let's say, G. Straight away after I insert it from transpose from lower notes to above notes, I know I will need to reduce the first harmonic, as I have a low cut here around 35. So in D, it's around 33, the first harmonic, so it's already cutted a lot. And I transpose it to G, so it means the first harmonic now is at 50, so it's not gonna be reduced by low cut, so it's gonna be much louder. So okay, so this is what I did. And I see I'm missing, and I have 2 times R bass. I'm gonna mute one. All right, and for this case, I'm gonna insert it as a new version, track version, duplicate. All right, this one, and I'm gonna use just the standard rolling bass line, and you will see why. All right, so that's it. So this is the moment number 2, and I think I need to put the bassline a little bit louder, so I'm just gonna type in decibels. All right. Then I'm gonna adjust a little bit of the phase. Okay, I'm gonna keep it like that. So this is it, and now the second thing is I want to insert the rest of the drums from my template that you can also get from my shop. But why am I using always these drums as a template? So I'm not gonna use all of those files in the end of a track. I'm gonna probably replace the bigger amount of them. But why do I love starting a track with a template? If I start now adding one hi-hat, another hi-hat, the third hi-hat, I will not have the idea. I will need to spend a lot of time in mixing them later on. Now I drop all of those stems, which I know that are mixed together, so the balance between of them is already done. So the moment when I start replacing and setting other hi-hats, just not to be the same, every track not sound the same, I will know exactly on which level I will put it. And it's a more of using the template just because it's gonna make me mix later on much faster. So let's say, okay, sorry, I need to this one as well. So I will know exactly on which level, how much of highs, how much of low, how much which level I'm gonna set when I start replacing all of those hi-hats, when I change the snare, how loud the transient should be, how much mids, how much highs, and so on, so on. So it's gonna be easier later on, and this is why I love using templates. As I don't advise you use template from one track to another, but it's just gonna help, for example, how the length of the hi-hats, how much it's gonna be, as I'm gonna be able to A/B when I drop another one. I'm gonna play this one and then this one, and I'm gonna realize if there's some mistake I'm making, and this is gonna push me much faster to work. Anyway, so now this is the moment which is really important when you start building your track. The more time you spend in building the groove, the bigger chances are that the track is gonna sound great later on. The better the groove is, that means that the track has less and less possibilities to be boring. So the groove, and I'm just gonna show you small details. For example, sidechain on the bass line. It's a big difference. I'm gonna just solo. It's a big difference from this point being over here. It's also super big difference from this dot being over here. With dynamics. Dynamics are the most important while you build the groove. How much of sidechain, what are the loudness of the notes, all these hi-hats. If you check in this template, none of them are on the same level. And all this ducking, all this dynamics is actually what's making the groove interesting. Also, how long is the kick, the bass notes, the synthesis of the bass line. These are the things, when you've done them correctly, then you will just feel more material on top of it, and the groove, as if it's done correctly and it sounds really nice, then the track, I think you are on a halfway to make a really interesting track. As there will be the moments when you will just play a lot of sounds, and the moment you'll just make it come back to kicking the bass, and if that sounds good, people are just gonna be blown away. Anyway, so now let's say I spend a lot of time and I did this groove correctly. So I'm now just gonna skip to another project which is already done with the groove. It's a bit different, and this is why I want to share it with you, as I realized I had an idea to make a bit deeper track, more slower with a different bass line. But then I realized that if I use a lot of those plugs, then the track is always sounding the same. So what I did, I just reduced it's the same bass line as you can see. So Vitamin and M Saturator MB, which I loaded in the previous one, and probably maybe a little bit different synthesis. But from the cutoff side, I reduced the plug on it, so the envelope on the filter does not go. And this way I realized that it's the only way that I create this depth that I wanted. So I spent a lot of time. So there's a kick. As you can see, there's a lot of different velocities on each bass note, and also the LFO tool as additional. So the more of these dynamic things, there's a bigger chance that you can make. But the best thing is, for the groove and for those things, the best thing is to listen. There's no formula, there's no science behind it, as it's really connected to your feeling. And those feeling to realize when the groove is better and when it's not, you can do only by spending a lot of time in listening to it. The more you listen to it, the more details you're gonna start noticing, and the more adjustments you're gonna do. So I just added the second bass line, and as you can see, it's ARP 303, so it's a default preset from Silent. And the third one. So this is something I really wanted to create for this track, some kind of depth. Okay, the kick is a little bit. So this is the groove which I feel it's now good enough to start continuing. I have those drums here as well. And this is the most important moment of building the track. Now when I have the groove that satisfies me, I think it's good enough to continue during the whole track, is now I try to bring those single shot sounds and create the atmosphere. And what am I doing? I'm losing a lot of sample packs. I'm using a lot of older sample packs, but this topic I'm gonna keep for one of the next videos. So Omnisphere, a lot of samples, splice, trying to create. And I'm gonna start the groove of the track is gonna pulling my inspiration out. And from this point, there won't be any random things that's gonna happen. Basically, I'm gonna imagine like, okay, now some pad I want there, as this is the thing which I think it's really important when it comes to making music. If you just spend and do like, I'm gonna finish this track so it's end up good, I'm gonna release it, and if not, I'm not fan of that technique of making music. I really have a lot of things to say, but I just learned what are the moments to trigger those moments of inspirations, those ideas. And this is what I'm trying to achieve with this video. It's like when you have the groove, when you have something, then it's gonna start, my imagination is gonna start moving by groove. Okay, so I wanted this ARP, and I usually played the chord. Reverb, delay, because with the reverb and delay I get this liquidish moment that I spoke about in the last video. And then there's another one, the same, just different chord. And I just managed to add one more. So those three are just in this project so far. So I will spend next part of making this track is that I want to add the single shot sounds enough that I have for 1 minute of a track, and that's gonna be enough for me to cover the whole atmosphere with enough single shot sounds that's gonna start bringing me other ideas. Should I add some rhythmical? Should I create some interesting loops like boop, 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 boop? But it's all gonna play I'm gonna start imagining those sounds, and this I think is the creative way, and that way you are going to your goal, to exactly where you wanted to go. So this is why I'm coming back to the previous topic that I said on the beginning of the video, is if you know in which direction, what is exactly what you want to create, it's gonna help you a lot. As that way, I think this is for me the only way of creativity, is if you have something to say, if you want to create something and to make a certain effect on people who listen to your music. Otherwise, everything is just random, and there are chances that you're going to succeed, but there are also chances you won't, because this is when you play by the luck moment. Will you create by playing with the random sounds? Will you create something that's interesting for a lot of people or not? But if you want to express and you want to create something, it's going to be much easier to achieve your goals. How I see it. Anyway. And you can achieve that by analyzing someone else's music. In the music that you really like, you can like, okay, is it an atmosphere? Is it a melody? Is it an energy? Or what it is? For example, all this new EDM, Psytrance music like Vinny Vici and everything. The biggest thing is at the energy, but for them to achieve this energy, they need to make a much longer breaks. With much longer breaks, they need to make this contrast, because my tracks usually they have 80% in the length they have the kick and bass going, and I cannot make the surprise with the kick and bass because they are playing 80% of a track already. So with the longer breaks, taking out and bringing the energy of a track really much down, and extending that moment, But in that moment when there's no kick in the bass, there's a lot of interesting samples, singings, melodies, and so on, which keeps the attention of the listener, and so on. And that then they create this space of bringing the energy down. When the kick and bass are pumping, everybody starts to jump through the roof. And so I just wanted to tell to show you some of the things that you can think about to analyze what is exactly that works in a track that you like. For me, it's most of the time the flow, the ambient, this kind of sensation. And this is what drives me. For you, you should analyze what drives you and what is exactly you should pay attention on, and then apply it in your music. I'm sorry, but this topic is super vast, and this is the 10th time I try to record this video. So yeah, too much of talking. Anyway, so the next stage of it will be when I have enough single shots. The track is gonna like driving me. It's gonna tell me what I'm gonna do next. So this is why I think that the groove and then the atmosphere, this is for the type of the music I create. The atmosphere, the groove, when I have that, everything rest will come. So later on, when it's come the first break, you can look for the voice samples or building the intro where you can play much more musically, where the kick and bass are not going. And then you can decide what you're gonna do in the second part of a track and so on. And also I work on several tracks in the same time, as that way works the best. I need to stop this video right now, otherwise it's gonna be just too long. So thank you very much for watching, and see you soon with the next video. Bye, ciao.